Hello guys, and welcome to the weekly JPT live stream. And in this video we're going to talk about recommending Linux to Windows users. And let's face it, we've all been there. All of us Linux enthusiasts have been there where we're talking to someone and they go, "Oh, my Windows computer is slow. It's really slow," or "I don't like it," or they make some complaint about Windows and they're just like, "I don't like it. I'm not liking my experience because something is wrong with it." And naturally, we just go, "Oh, Linux, blah, 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 Linux, blah, blah, blah." You know, we just start rambling on about Linux and we tell them all about it. But that is not what we should do. That's actually the wrong thing to do. It's the wrong approach to recommending Linux to people who have never used it before. There's actually a much better and actually easier way to do that. And it's called the Fixit Felix method. Sorry, it's called the Fixit Felix method, and I'm gonna tell you guys about that today. So, like I said, every time someone complains about Windows, you start telling them about Linux. Now hold that thought. Let's talk about Fixit Felix for a few minutes. Now, we all have seen Wreck-It Ralph. We all know who Fixit Felix is. He's, you know, a little guy with the hammer, kind of like the video game version of Bob the Builder or whatever, and he's got his magic hammer and he just goes around and fixes someone. Now, what happens when Wreck-It Ralph, "I'm gonna wreck it," breaks the building? What happens? Fixit Felix just comes and says, "I can fix it," and fixes the building. Do we know how his hammer works? No, all we really know is that it's magic and that it does work because we've seen it work, but we don't know how, and we don't really care too much about how it works, right? I mean, he says, "I can fix it." He doesn't say, "Hey, I have this magic hammer that works," and he like spends 10 minutes explaining to us how his magic hammer works. And then by that time, you know, the penthouse is already destroyed by Wreck-It Ralph. You know, he doesn't stand there spending 10 minutes explaining how his hammer works, you know? He doesn't explain all that to us. He just simply says, "I can fix it," and then fixes it. And that's kind of what we need to do that's how you recommend Linux. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk today. That's how you recommend Linux to other Windows users, is using the Fixit Felix method. Just say, "I can fix it," or "I know how to fix it." It's as simple as saying something like that. And my guess is that they probably know you at least have a little bit of knowledge about computers, and they'll probably trust you. If they trust you, they'll give you their computer and they'll let you fix it. And now, if you're just gonna wipe Windows and put Linux on there, don't even really tell them. Just ask them, because usually it's an old computer that they've got a lot of stuff on and they just want it to run a little bit quicker. So, I mean, you can just ask them, "Hey, all you really need to tell them is just make sure they're okay with you backing up their data, wiping, cleaning their computer, and restoring it. Just tell them you're gonna do that much, and then they can understand that, and they'll probably trust you to do it." And then, whereas if you just explain to them what Linux is, one, it's a lot of information. Imagine like you're trying to fit your years of Linux experience and just dump it all on them, right? And that doesn't work, you know? You can't, it's gonna go straight over their head. They're not gonna understand anything you're saying, and the first thing they're gonna think is, "Wow, that sounds really complicated. I don't know if I want to do it," because, you know, it sounds complicated to them. You said a lot of stuff. Probably you used a lot of Linux terminology, like a terminal, package manager, you know, stuff, repositories, you know, stuff that they don't understand, and it all goes right over their heads as you're trying to explain it to them, and they go, "Man, this seems really hard. I don't know if I want to do this." But if you just say, "I can fix it," they'll trust you, hopefully, give you their computer. Just say, I'm gonna back up all your stuff, clean off your computer, and then put all your data back on. How does that sound? If they let you do that, then of course, just back up their data, put Linux, but of course, you're probably not gonna want to put something like Arch Linux. I'm pretty sure at this point we all know what a beginner-friendly distribution is, so obviously give them something beginner-friendly like Linux Mint, Elementary OS, you know, something like that. So just give them a Linux distro and then give it back to them. It's literally as simple as that. Remember, Fixit Felix, he doesn't explain how his magic hammer works. He just shows you. He literally just does it and you see it. So that's what we need to do. Like, say like our Linux skills or our computer skills that's our magic hammer, right? And all people need to know is that we have the skills to do it. They don't need to know how we're going to use those skills or what tools we're going to use. They just need to know that we have what it takes to fix their computer, and then they will trust us to fix their computer because they've seen it work. So just tell them you can fix it and then just do it for them. Just put Linux on it. Don't even tell them anything. Give it back. I'm pretty sure they can figure it out on their own, especially if you give them a beginner-friendly distro like Linux Mint or Elementary OS, for example. Once you give them a Linux distro, they'll figure it out. And if they might figure out that it's not Windows and then explore further into it, they might not. But let them take it at their own pace. But the first thing they'll notice once they get it is they'll realize it's so much faster and that it probably fixed whatever problem they were having with it, and they'll have a much better experience without having to deal with all the complexity of it. So it's simple for you and it makes it simple for them too. It doesn't dump a ton of information and make them feel uncomfortable about it. You know, you want them to be confident that they can trust you, because you kind of have to keep it dumbed down so they know what you're doing. You know, like I said, just tell them I can fix it and tell them I'm gonna back up your stuff, clean your computer, and put all your stuff back on. Now how does that sound? And they'll understand that, and if they let you do it, of course. If they don't let you do it, then don't do it. But of course, if they let you do it, then go ahead and do it, fix it, and they'll probably really like the experience. And if they want to go further into Linux, they will, or they might just keep it on that computer and know it works. So that, I would say, is the best way to recommend Linux to new users, is the Fixit Felix method. Next time you get someone complaining about their computer and you just say, I can fix it. That's just as simple as that. The Fixit Felix method, the best way to recommend Linux to new users. This is how Linux was actually recommended to me. This is how my first computer just came with Linux. Now, the person that gave me that computer, that relative that gave me that computer with Linux on it, didn't explain to me everything about Linux. They didn't dump everything on me. They just gave me a computer with Linux. At first, I didn't even know it used Linux, but you know, I realized it worked differently. It used Ubuntu at the time, and then I just looked into it and found out it was Linux, and then I'm like, what's Linux? And here I am now running a Linux YouTube channel. So yeah, I know that this works because it's worked with me, and I guarantee you it will work so much better than the way you've been doing it this whole time. And I know that it's been like this with my personal experience of it's worked on me, and it's worked with me recommending Linux to other people. So I can tell you from experience, the Fixit Felix method is the best way to recommend Linux. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do these weekly live streams every week at this time, every Saturday at this time. And I've also got extra exclusive ad-free content on Patreon. Subscription is $5 a month if you want to go check that out. It really helps support the channel, so I'd really appreciate it for those of you that do that. And that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.